Hey everyone, Francis here from What a Hell of a Way to Die. If you've been wondering how you can support myself and Nate here on the show, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/hellofaWayToDie. Joining the Patreon at any level gets you access to our Discord server, one bonus episode a month, and early access to interviews. At the $5 level, you'll get more bonus content and an opportunity to vote on monthly Zoo Crew episodes. And at the $10 and up level, you'll get exclusive stickers, patches, and pins sent out to you every quarter. Your support means that we can keep our regular episodes free and make sure we don't have to rely on advertisers. If you can, please consider joining and supporting your two favorite veteran dads. I'm not going to say it's not hard, but I am also going to say it doesn't exactly make you an expert in getting your head caved in by a club. Though maybe it does. Like, I think all of us are an expert in if your brain is on the ground, then you're probably dead.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm a primary care. Sorry, I can't even say the word. I'm a primary care paramedic, and my brain is made of Swiss cheese, and I can't remember like what day it is. So doesn't take much.
But if I got a gunshot wound, you probably know what to do there. I don't care if you know that it's a Friday. I just care that you know like how to put a tourniquet on.
That is true, and there's one moment because I started watching this episode with a feeling of like, okay, I know they're going to tell you probably some factual things about these warriors and their armaments. And then it's like the simulation where it goes off the rails because that's nonsense. And I was planning on just taking notes of just the most egregious things I heard. And then I quickly realized that wouldn't work because I was like, no, almost everything they say is nonsense.
It's all ridiculous. It's all, especially the experts that they bring in who are not experts in any way, shape, or form. Maybe like some of them they're mostly stuntmen.
But
really.
It says sword expert at the bottom of the screen.
Sword expert. You can put anything in a cryon. You know, it's not that hard. Sword expert. So our experts this time we have for the Knights we have David Coretti. It says he's a veteran and a sword guy.
Yeah, I love his kind of army veteran / sword expert because I'm like, well, what part of that is not true of you? I mean, you're an army veteran and you've watched enough Deadliest Warrior. I think you could call yourself a sword expert.
I don't own any swords. I do own a lightsaber. So maybe if they do like a Jedi Knight versus, I don't know, Halo Combat Evolved's Master Chief guy. I don't know what they're. What are those guys called?
Oh, Spartans.
Spartans. Yes. Yes. Jedi versus Spartan (parentheses Halo). Maybe we can bring it back for that. That's all I own, though, and I can.
Fair.
I'm really good at making my own lightsaber noises with my mouth too. So maybe I can, if they bring this back, I can get onto it. But so for the Knights, we have David Coretti, who also I will say they call him a veteran, which is true, but they don't like usually when somebody is specific to like special forces or Green Berets, they will tell you that. So veteran, sure. I mean,
he's a culinary officer.
Maybe a cyber guy, maybe a public affairs guy. Who knows? I would say, though, that they should probably lean on getting more public affairs soldiers because they need somebody that can talk in front of a camera. And generally, these guys are terrible on screen because, again, they're stuntmen for the most part. They're not usually meant to speak with the camera up close to their face. They are meant to do the stunt, get run over by the truck, and call it a day.
Yeah, because what David Coretti does have in spades is like Star Wars kids moves, and he will get so many shots of him making these moves.
And David is the only one that I could really find a whole lot of information on, and not too much. I found he goes as Dav Coretti as his stage name, and he does theater and stuff. So again, as a fellow theater geek, you know, nothing but respect for him.
That's fair. My note on him, I did do a little note to remember which each character was, or which each presenter was. And I labeled David Coretti as having the worst vibe of the whole group. He's kind of like the first guy voted off a reality dating show.
He does have that. He does have that kind of feel to him. It's like every time he's looking at somebody or at the camera, it's like, I can't tell if you want to kill me or fuck me or both.
Yeah. I have to say that there's a few shots in this episode where the entire like rogues gallery of so-called experts is like huddled around one spot looking at the computer or whatever they're looking at. And the distinct impression I get from them as a group, and hopefully this will help with your kind of like mind's eye as the audio listeners here, but like all of these guys to me look like they would absolutely corner you at a party to talk to you about their like special interests, and like you can't. It's very hard to get away.
Yeah. Did you know I was a stuntman on Mad Max Fury Road? Yeah, that's right. I got run over by a truck and set on fire.
Yeah,
You know, I
speaking
mean,
of trucks,
that would work on me. I love Mad Max, so.
every one of these guys looks like they would own a Cybertruck.
All right, so also for the Knights, we have Josh Pog, combat historian. For the Pirates, we have Michael Triplett, who is billed as a historical armaments maker. I could not really find too much on him or the armaments that he makes, but
It means he has a kiosk at the Ren Fair, but
right,
whether or not you buy something, it's just really hard to get away from that kiosk.
right. He opens up the outside of the PX. He's got one of those little carts that has all of the samurai swords that you can buy for like $30. Like, oh, is it real? Now, I will
Triplet
say,
is a very appropriate last name for him because I'm absolutely confident that this man has been divorced 3 times.
and then we have David Hernandez, a Hispanic sword fighting instructor who I'm going to say does have a little bit of sword fighting chops to him. He's been in movies doing sword stuff. I found his link tree, and he sells. He links to a website that sells swords, and it's one of those fantasy. It's not full fantasy sword. Like you can't buy. Oh, I'm going to buy the Longclaw from Game of Thrones or Sting from The Hobbit. You can buy a bunch of katanas, and then they do have some anime katanas. I believe One Piece was one of them, and I can't remember what the other one was. But he at least, when he puts the sword in his hand, you know that he's had a sword in his hand a few times. He kind of knows what he's doing.
Yeah, sword fighting instructor is like that's a great job title if you can get it. Like I'd put that on my resume if I could claim it seriously.
Absolutely. There was, I do a vendor event at our local science center, and they have themed evenings like on the first Friday of every month. They had one for Princess Bride, and they had a sword fighting group do recreations of the sword fight on the Cliffs of Insanity from the Princess Bride. And let me tell you, I thought those guys were the coolest. Like they were up there. They were having a good time. They were doing swords. They were talking about swords. They have that sword special interest. But instead of like coming to me and cornering me to talk about it, they get on a stage and talk about it. And I think that's even better. So I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of sword fighting instructor, sword experts. I think that you can do some fun stuff with it.
Oh, for sure. You're recording these episodes in order, right? Like you've talked about this show 3 times now. So like stop me for the stuff you've already covered for the show as a whole. But the real impression I get from this is like it's not the core of the premise, which is like, what if we, took these like little ballistics, gel humans and these pigs and hit them with swords and see exactly how badly it fucks you up. Like I would watch that. That's just Mythbusters.
Yeah, this is Mythbusters for the frat pack.
Yeah.
This is all the nerds are watching the Mythbusters blow up pigs with science, and these guys are you come to Deadliest Warrior to watch pigs blown up for fun.
Yeah, like if you had just shown me all of these weapon demonstrations and then said, like, we have a panel of, so-called experts who are going to vote on who they think would win or like debate it, and that's kind of how we solve it, I'd be like, all right, this is a premise for a show that is like, it is what it is. It's going to serve its audience. What really just gets me is where they lean so hard on like, no, this is science. The computer will tell us.
We're just gonna have to wait for the computer to tell us to run the total accurate battle simulator and have all of our stickmen fly all around with the halberd and see what happens. They are very into like that's Max Geiger's entire point. Like he has to be there with his Excel spreadsheet. Although I found out it's not Excel, it's OpenOffice that they're using.
Respect as a now a LibreOffice user, but
yeah. Look, you got to keep they spent all the money on pig carcasses. They can't afford a 2009 Microsoft Office license. And I understand that. I also cannot afford a Microsoft license. So
does Geiger, I watched this episode and I wanted to watch more of them just to kind of be into it. But then I fell asleep last night halfway through the first episode. Like, does Geiger always kind of have this blazer that the costume department kind of awkwardly slung on him to make him look a little, yeah.
So here's the thing, Max Geiger, I found an old Reddit AMA with him, and I talked about this, but I'll summarize it for you too. He talked, I think he was like 21 or 22 when he was hired for the show to be the computer guy, and he's basically just doing data entry into this system that they use called Slytherin, which is a gaming system from back then. And I think it's still around, but they had a whole system. But yeah, Max's entire thing, and he's gone in the third season too. Like they eventually cut him loose, and I found I unfortunately I have to tell you that Max Geiger is slightly problematic because his Twitter account, which has not been updated in almost a decade, had a tweet after he got let go from Deadliest Warrior that said no, I'm sorry, the bio said something about how he got replaced by a Jew. So you gotta stop. You gotta hit the brakes a little bit with Max Geiger. You can't like him too much.
I'm glad that I didn't actually end up picking my fave. I just said who it wasn't. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna say not Max Geiger. Who his name is like what a hack B movie writer would call a scientist.
Yeah, the guy come up with some techno mumble jumbo like Johnny Spanner or something like that. We'll just throw it all in there, and maybe that's why they hired him too. It's like you've got the name. Can you bring your own blazer?